Are we witnessing the revival of Zimbabwean rugby? Or can it even be considered a revival? Hello everyone, Salibonani Makadini, and welcome to another episode of The Mind of a Young Zimbabwean. My name is Ben, and today we're diving into a topic that stirs passion and pride in many Zimbabweans, our national rugby scene. For years, rugby has been more than just a sport in Zimbabwe. It's been a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience, and a source of immense national pride. From the fierce rivalries on the hallowed grounds of our high school fields to the unwavering dedication of our young athletes, rugby has woven itself into the fabric of our identity. But today, I want to pose two critical questions. Are we witnessing the revival of Zimbabwean rugby, and can it truly be considered a revival? As we explore the recent triumphs and the deep-seated culture that fuels this sport, we'll uncover the heart and soul of Zimbabwean rugby. We'll discuss the historic victories, the challenges overcome, and the untapped potential that propels us forward. So sit back, relax, and join me on this journey as we celebrate the spirit of Zimbabwean rugby and contemplate its bright future. Let me start off by reading the Wikipedia page of the Sables to give a bit of history. So the Zimbabwe National Rugby Union team, nicknamed the Sables, represents the Zimbabwe Rugby Union in international competitions, while sides representing the colony of Rhodesia have played as early as 1910. The modern-day Zimbabwe rugby team did not play its first test until 1981 against Kenya. Zimbabwe has competed in two World Cups in 1987 and 1991 in place of South Africa, who were sanctioned by the IRB at the time due to apartheid. Zimbabwe is categorized as Tier 3 Development 1, which prioritizes Zimbabwe over other nations due to historical success as well as popularity of rugby in the nation. During the colonial days, the team had an association with touring British Isles teams who regularly played matches against them in their tours of South Africa. The earliest tour being in 1910 when Zimbabwe was known as Southern Rhodesia. The side has also played New Zealand on several occasions, the first being in the late 1920s. Zimbabwe is the only non-Tier 1 nation to defeat the All Blacks. Yes, we are unbeaten against the All Blacks. And I actually had a high school coach who mentioned this at the time. He mentioned this when I was in high school, and I didn't believe him, but yeah, it's actually true. We're unbeaten against the All Blacks. As the Southern Rhodesia side defeated New Zealand in 1947. Zimbabwe currently competes in the Africa Gold Cup, considered the equivalent of the Six Nations in Africa. Zimbabwe have won the competition once in 2012 and finished runners-up in 2013, 2014, and 2015. Excluding the Springboks, Zimbabwe is one of the only three nations in Africa to qualify for the Rugby World Cup, the others being Namibia and Ivory Coast. The Sables maintain fierce rivalries with regional neighbors Namibia and Kenya, as their respective three nations have vied for African supremacy since the 2000s. So that's a bit of a brief history of the Sables. They've done really well. And as you can see, we finished runners-up in 2013, 2014, and 2015, and we did win the competition, the Africa Cup in 2012, and most recently we won the competition. At the time of recording, it's the 4th of August 2024. We've just come from winning the competition, and yeah, I'm proud of our boys. Rugby holds a special place in the hearts of Zimbabweans. For us, it's not just a sport, it's an event, a tradition, a way of life, particularly in high schools. Rugby transforms into a spectacle that captivates communities. Every weekend, the fields become the epicenter of social gatherings where people come together, bound not by school affiliations, but by the thrill of rivalry, the raw tenacity, and the unbridled passion that rugby ignites. During the weekends, you'd see people make events out of it. People come and watch these games. It's a whole spectacle with the school kids doing their war cries and everything. It's rugby is more than a game in Zimbabwe. It's a religion. In high schools, the sixth form students who take to the field are revered almost as demigods by the wide-eyed first formers who watch in awe. The rugby fields they play on, sacred grounds, hallowed by the dreams and sweat of countless young athletes. So now, imagine a young young kid in the first form 1, named Johnny, at a school like Prince Edward or Peterhouse. So Johnny, with stars in his eyes, watches his senior teammates with admiration and aspiration. He says, I want to be like them. He thinks to himself, I want to be like them. This is a very common thing. I myself went to a boys' school, and I remember I didn't play rugby, but you'd still look up to these people because rugby is that important in the school. So let's get back to Johnny. Johnny says, okay, I want to be like them, he thinks. With unwavering determination, Johnny, he dedicates himself to the sport. He takes it very seriously, staying fit and focused, driven by the hope of one day making the first 15. He wants to make the first team. 5 years pass, and his effort pays off. Johnny earns his place on the first 15 team. He's probably fullback or something. And, he takes the role with the utmost seriousness, because he worked hard for this. He worked 5 years for this, and he finally accomplished it. So he takes it seriously. His journey has been long, marked by hard work and dedication. But little does Johnny know, his own journey has already begun to inspire others. Among them is a boy named, let's say, Taku, right? So Taku has been quietly observing Johnny since Taku was in Form 4. They're not that far apart in age, but Taku still admires the work that Johnny put in. And Taku, captivated by Johnny's commitment and perseverance, finds his own inspiration. So Taku dreams of following in Johnny's footsteps, putting in the same hard work and dedication. And this cycle of inspiration and aspiration is the heartbeat of Zimbabwe's rugby culture. It's a legacy passed down from one generation to the next, a testament to the enduring spirit of the game. And this is how these rugby traditions have lasted for, in some cases, more than a century. Rugby in Zimbabwe is a culture of excellence where dreams are forged and futures are shaped on the sacred grounds of high school fields. It's where the passion of the sport fuels the ambitions of the young, creating a continuous legacy of dedication, inspiration, and unyielding spirit. And all of this sounds great, right? All of this sounds amazing. But what happens when we transition to professional rugby? Where does the passion go? Does the passion fade away? Why don't we witness the same fervor on the professional side? I think, this is my own opinion. You're welcome to leave your own opinions. I'm actually willing. I'm thinking of making a part 2 to this, and so that someone can maybe fact check what I'm going to say in this episode. I feel like it lies in culture. The answer lies in the culture. So Zimbabwe lacks a robust franchise rugby culture. While there are a handful of clubs, their structures aren't as solid. So for example, schools like St. George's College and Prince Edward, these two schools are in Harare. These two schools have thrived for over a century, nurturing a fierce rugby rivalry, right? And the two biggest rugby clubs in Harare, at least, old Hararians, and I could even argue that the two biggest rugby clubs in Zimbabwe. I grew up in Harare, so I might be a bit biased. But the two biggest rugby clubs, all the Hararians and all Georgians, draw their roots from this schoolboy rugby tradition. So even the biggest clubs are tied to high school rugby. And to be fair, most of the players in these clubs have been hobbyists rather than dedicated professionals, which I feel like it was meant to be that way. These were old boys, who just wanted, to stay fit, and they wanted the community to be around, like people. So, as it stands, these are the two biggest rugby clubs that we have. Do we need more clubs? Probably. Statistically, increasing the number of rugby players boosts competition because, we're playing as many people and so on. So, on paper, this would enhance the quality. It should enhance the quality. But then you have to ask yourself, is there enough incentive to dedicate one's life to rugby? Imagine a sixth form student, he's really good, made the Zimbabwe team, he went to Craven Week, he even participated in the Bartes Trophy and the under 20 tournament. But is there enough incentive for this young guy to dedicate his life to rugby? So let's cross over the border for a second. So in South Africa, the prospect of playing for a 4-time world champion team is a powerful incentive. They don't need to do much. Success breeds motivation, and their thriving league compensates players fairly. So first of all, they have a successful national team, and then their league is also thriving. Their rugby teams are some of the best in the world. Some of the best franchise rugby teams in the world. But I guess this is more of like a chicken and egg situation. Is the Springboks are 4-time world championships because of their league. So we need to start there. Even though we've won the Africa Cup, we still need to develop the grassroots level. We still need to develop our leagues and need to find a way to compensate players fairly, or at least that would motivate people to stay in the sport. Because in Zimbabwe, you'd notice that high school rugby stars often prioritize academics and pursue university education instead of committing to the sport. But I guess it's only logical, the current climate back home in Zim, it's only logical. The professional structures are not compelling enough to draw their passion beyond the school fields. So the passion for rugby seems to be confined to the microcosm of high school, where it flourishes intensely, but then it fades as the players grow older. The vibrant culture of school rugby, with its fierce rivalries and deep-rooted traditions, does not seamlessly transition into the professional realm. And for professional rugby to thrive, we need to build solid structures, provide adequate incentives, and cultivate a culture that extends beyond school grounds. Until then, the undying passion of high school rugby may remain a fleeting memory, a bright flame that dims too soon. So that's what I wrote there. And yeah, so let me go back to the two questions I posed at the beginning. Are we witnessing the revival of Zimbabwean rugby? And can it truly be called a revival? So, following the Sables' victory in the Africa Cup and the under-20s had consecutive wins in the Bartes Trophy, so they won the trophy 2 years in a row. It shows that Zimbabwean rugby is undoubtedly on the rise. We beat Namibia for the first time in decades, and witnessing our young athletes excel is definitely monumental. But if this is the pinnacle of our performance, if this is the best we've ever done, is it really a revival, or is it more of a rise, an ascension, It feels like a revival, at least in our hearts, because Zimbabwe has always possessed this potential despite, past results. We know the culture. We feel the passion for the sport, and it's been agonizing. It honestly hurts to see our Sables fall short, over the years. So I personally wouldn't call it a revival. These accomplishments demonstrate just how good we are and have been for years. We often think of the what ifs. What if certain players had continued their rugby careers? I can guarantee you have a player in mind. This guy was a beast in high school. This guy was amazing in high school, but you didn't really see the point in continuing. We always think about these people, and we've lost a lot of potential along the way. But what we are witnessing now is an ascension. Our current success is a testament to the latent talent and dedication that has always been part of Zimbabwean rugby. It's now being shown, and I have to give credit to the ZRU and the people up there, because honestly, during my time in high school, we didn't really have that many under 20 competitions. And over the past 5 years, we've been participating in under 20 competitions, and I feel like that also helped our national team, the men's national team, to actually excel, because our young ones, even though I have a feeling, I have not fact-checked this, but I have a feeling most of those young people who played for the under 20 Sables team, very few of them are still playing rugby. At least for the Sables, because it's only logical that the next step would be the Sables. So yeah, in essence, okay, to wrap this up, this isn't just a revival, it's the realization of our long-held belief in the greatness of Zimbabwean rugby. It's an ascent to the heights we've always known we could reach, fueled by the unyielding spirit and passion that define us. So, yes, I am happy in the direction that Zimbabwean rugby is going in, but we still need to do a lot more work for us to actually reach the heights we're supposed to. That's all from me, and peace.